if you look at the historically, there has been a pretty big difference from what customers are expecting and what actually companies can do. Right? So this is a constant fight. How do you get better?
And there's also many of the analysts that they say that the interactions of the customers that are going to be managed by AI it's going to be more and more.
And it's really about building the customer journeys and building the structure around the customer journeys. We have kind of understood what are those customer journeys that customers need.
Industries are just probably put their investment in somewhere rather than real estate and maybe even people, right? So the future of work for banking is reshaping completely.
Making sure that you have proper data structure, that you can moving more and more towards the cloud, because and towards the secured cloud, right? So I think that's kind of the future.
Welcome to the Tech Foresight podcast, where we are diving deep into the intersection of technology and business. I am Diana Daniels, Mexican entrepreneur in the areas of telecommunications, digital and labor inclusion, and I'm saying hello to you from Barcelona. And today we are receiving a very special guest with us, Kerli Vares. She is the head of retail banking for Luminor Group. Luminor is the third largest provider of financial services in the Baltics, with over 870,000 clients and more than 2,300 employees in the Baltic region. Kerli is on a mission to build a human bank that truly listens and supports and advises customers in their financial lives, while it's contributing to the growth of local companies and entrepreneurs. Kerli, thank you very much for being with us. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, I love this vision of yours of building a human-centric bank. And from your expertise and experience, how can technology be leveraged to enhance customer experiences while they are also maintaining that human touch in banking, especially considering that there are several studies that they say that 67% of consumers are willing to switch banks for a more personalized experience. What is your take on how do you see the role of technology in achieving the satisfaction and then the better customer experience?
I think that, if you look at the overall history of how technology has developed and how it has been used within different industries, not just within banking, it has been mostly about efficiency, kind of getting the better understanding of the customer and so on. But it's not been, it's been very difficult to make it human, right, in a technology. So I think that right now with new technologies that are developing and with AI, it offers banks and also any other businesses to really kind of go in that area. And I think also it's very much about human or AI-assisted human service. So that's at least initially, and then let's see how the future will develop. But yeah, it's really about how do you leverage the technology that in order to understand what the customers need and how you can deliver it to them. So I think that if you look at the historically, there has been a pretty big difference from what customers are expecting and what actually companies can do. Right. So this is a constant fight. How do you get better, and how do you start to use and leverage technology better?
I come obviously from the telecom market. I know that you also work in telecom some years ago. So that synergy between telecom and banking is becoming super important. I would like to see, I actually read the other day a report where we see that over 50% of global banking customers are using mobile banking apps, and that are obviously provided by the social telecom network. So from your perspective, how banks can collaborate with the telecom companies and in order to provide more and better financial services that can enhance these customer satisfaction and continue to be more human?
I think that, in general, our region is also more digital, than compared to the rest of the majority of the world. So I think for us, internet bank and mobile bank is something 90%, 80% of the use. It's much, much higher. And I think that hereby it's also about, at the same time, you see that in certain aspects or certain elements, even though customers prefer to, not even come to the banking branch per se, they like to kind of get them on board on the systems and the solutions that work well and that what kind of to guide them through. But I think what we are missing is to kind of build an approach that helps to still bring this professional competence into that, right? So, for example, if we take the investment area, yes, customers prefer to be onboarded digitally, but then again, finding the best solution was for them. It looks like then, having the human touch like added to that actually helps, right? So understanding, like having the professionals who can help to make that service more understandable, more easy. That's I would say is a perfect mix, at least for upcoming years.
You see, I think that your region is very future forward. The Baltic, Estonia, we were recently there, and what they're been doing are things that many other countries are just starting to think about, and they're already doing it by by a natural way. And there are also many of the analysts that they say that the interactions of the customers that are going to be managed by AI it's going to be more and more. So I would like to probably, if you can tell us some good stories about what you guys are doing today that they look forward thinking that maybe other areas are just doing, and what is about to implement that probably not other places are doing. What good examples can you tell us on what you guys are doing that utilizing AI or machine learning or technology that looks like future forward?
So in general, if I could start before I go into the AI, because I think that AI is still very much in kind of a testing phase. If you look at from the kind of really promoting that to the service, but you use technology in many other ways, right? So for example, we have most of our clients are onboarding remotely, right? So either and they can choose whether they choose to onboard digitally fully or they choose to do that with a video, so they don't want to come to the branch. Even getting mortgages, only 16% of customers decide to come to the branch to get a mortgage. Everyone else does it via video. So that's how you get it, because that saves time. And obviously, the COVID also kind of area also like our time, so to say, like promoted that movement. But this is what is really happening. So people are really. Especially so in Estonia, people don't want to come to the branch because they understand that spends their time, and they want different solutions how a bank or like any other service provider can help you. Yes, they appreciate that if you can, whenever you do, for example, you start your customer experience for even from a mobile app, if you get stuck, that you get a human call, someone calling you or whatever whenever that's needed. I think that's what customers are really expecting. So it's all about how do we use the technology to help customers save time, and at the same time at the elements where technology cannot manage, where we can still bring people in and quickly give that experience over to the human help.
But that's amazing because that's completely reshaping the industry, right? It's weird. The way that I'm hearing is that we're going forward to a branchless bank, right? There won't be probably physical ways or places eventually to go to a bank. That means that industries are just probably put their investment in somewhere rather than real estate and maybe even people, right? So the future of work for banking is reshaping completely. How do you see this working in the next, let's say, 5 years?
So we started that reshaping of the overall way how the bank's structures and works already before that. So in that sense, kind of forward looking. and we kind of we thought and reorganized how we work per se in 2019, 2020, and that's when we're also very much optimizing our branch network. And right now there are people who work in the branches, but they quite often the reason they work is that actually they're answering the calls to the customers, or they're actually working remotely, but they still be offering them like a location where they can meet. And if a customer wants to meet, you can always meet in the branch. So that would be the one sense. And then it's also like really about how do we reshape all our processes based on that. So the sales process, the customer service process, and so on. So this is really what's been happening, and it's really about building the customer journeys and building the structure around the customer journeys. So rather than having one banker who is has a certain portfolio of customers, and sits in a certain branch, and you would need to come there and meet the people and so on. We have kind of understood what are those customer journeys that customers need, and we do not have these signed portfolios for example, for private customers. Yeah, so yes, you do have for the corporate banking, but you don't have for the private customers. And the idea here is all okay, so you need a mortgage, how we can help you. You need help in in a credit card or in debit card. You need to help in payments. So how we can help and build all the experience around it. So build the build the organizational structure around the customer needs and the processes, what we would also then build in the digital solutions.
When you have these 84% of your customers wanting to not coming to a branch or not going to a bank, right? For sure, it stresses other areas such as security, and I guess that the solutions around making sure that you are you. Mm-hmm. And then the intersection where telecom, for instance, goes, solutions where are like a SIM-based authentication or biometric are super essential for maintaining this customer trust and security, which I believe is very critical for your environment. How some telecom companies can leverage these services to enhance the security and build trust within the banking customer? Do you see that way, or do you see in other areas where just banking are relying themselves on this and taking away from the telecoms?
So we are using the external partner for helping us to identify and secure the systems, and we have actually several. So that it really much depends. I would say though that at least in our area or in our countries, that has been more taken up by IT companies rather than telecoms, but I would say definitely an opportunity also for telecoms to take it up, right? But it's all about the so then we have one solution which is for the identification, so that's both biometrical or you have a special related to the phone PIN code generation. Then you have then it's a separate process what is for the onboarding, and then you kind of try to build that process with the supplier. So so I think that there's definitely an opportunity. It's all about our companies are willing to be there. It's not about whether it's a telco or whether it's IT. It's about the solutions, and we see that there are a number of companies who are coming and actively playing there. Then there's obviously also other areas where we can use the artificial intelligence or technology in the banking industry. So this is all about the it's all about the customer service and customer identification. Then it's obviously very much what you also mentioned about fraud, about managing risks. So that's another area. Then it's a risk area. How do you manage the risks? How, because banking historically has been very, very data driven. Yeah, and then it's a question on how do you use the data, what's available there. And if you look at all these new AI tools and so on, it's a question of how much can you bring that into your risk models, because then it's a question you need to understand what's the data models, what's happening there, right? Yeah. So it's also, you can see that the ECB and all the other regulators are also very careful in trying to understand how would the AI models or new technology models being used in the risk definition. So which customers can you work with? Which customers do you provide credit? How much do you provide credit? What's the pricing for them? So this is like, there's a whole area of thing, and that comes all down to making sure that you have proper data structure, that you can use, moving more and more towards the cloud, because and towards the secured cloud, right? So that's I think that's kind of the future.
So you see, it's very interesting because you said something very, very good, which is in some areas here, even IT companies more than telecom are providing you with, the solutions in order to do this. One of those things that are the telecom companies, the one that in theory they should be, helping you, and then there's other disrupting this area. And in recent years, what I've seen, for instance, that other telecom companies are entering also into the fintech space. You have like Safaricom in Kenya, for instance, they are using the M-Pesa very successfully in the fintech area, offering a range of financial services. I read a report where the mobile transactions in the sub-Saharan Africa are almost like in the 500 billion by already, I don't know, it was 5 years ago already. So I don't even know what is the number today. So, but if we think about the next 10 years, do you believe that these telecom companies can effectively compete with traditional banks in the fintech area? Do you think that telecom can, we see the story of WeChat. They are not telecom, but they're a big tech company that enter kind of like in fintech, in banking, So what are the industries that do you believe that will disrupt the banking industry or the fintech arena? Do you think that telecom has a chance, or what other companies will do?
I think that anyone has a chance. I think that's that's in anyone who has a strategy, dependent on what is the strategy, and that can go there and deliver that. They can win. I think what you see though typically is that at least in Europe, the telecom companies are not going there. At least to fintech areas, there are just very few examples what you see, and I think that it's very important for any company to understand. So what is your benefit, and how do you grow there? We see some of the telecom operators, for example, in the region, who don't even care about the fraudsters, right? So like their customers are being abused by the fraudsters, and they don't protect their network. So this is like it's kind of it's a different type of strategy what the companies can adjust. So I think that definitely there's a chance. But it's also very much about, how much attention do you pay for it, and is it progressing, right? And I think it's also, I think one of the challenges for many telcos is that, and similar to many banking sector, is that you are very, telco is typical telco. I'm not talking about your company. Telco is very much based on local country network, right? And then it's about, do you expand beyond? Yeah, because in any, for example, if you look at the ID processing, or like the same onboarding systems of the partners that we're using, they are working across Baltics. Yeah. So and then telco companies in turn are very it's Latvian, Estonian, Lithuanian, based. Yeah. So there is a kind of, for them to understand that they need to be going across the boards, because that's where the competition is coming from.
Got it. This is super interesting, and it kind of leads me to the next idea that I want to share, that what I would like you to share with our audience, and it's about what do you believe that the leaders in your segment, the future leaders of the banking, the future CEOs of any financial institution, what qualities do they need in order to progress into the next level in the years coming forward? What do they need to succeed?
I think that's been kind of a topic what we've at least discussed in our company for a while now, is that if you are in a banking sector, you need to understand, and I think that it's actually true for any sector. You need to understand what is the technology, right? So you cannot be the technology cannot be like a separate stack there. So the whole management team needs to understand what are the technology risks coming abroad, what are the opportunities, right? So what you can take, because otherwise it's very difficult to manage in that world, and because technology is becoming a crucial element of how we run our business, and so you need to really understand. So I think that that would be, I would say, one of the key things, and then understanding how can you leverage that opportunity and take that to the next stage. And it's not just all about the banks; it's also about the regulation, because, meanwhile, we see that there are more and more requirements coming from the regulators, right? And it's not just about IT; it's about everywhere, right? So it's about any area. So it's and it's also about, does the banking sector needs to become more also a social sector? Do we need to cover some of the social needs of the society, whether that's people with certain inhibitations in their skills, or it's people who are living in the countryside, which is a very kind of common problem for us, because we are a rarely populated country. Most of the people are living in the capital cities, or it's it's the older generation. So this is it's all about navigating that space, understanding where the business is going to go, what are the opportunities, what the technology is providing, and how you can handle the needs of the society as well.
So let's gonna switch a little bit of our gears, and I like this section that I always put in my podcast, and it's about a rapid fire round. I'll ask you a series of questions, and what I would love you to do is to answer with either the first word or phrase that comes to your mind. Ready?
Okay, let's try.
Okay, let's try it out. So the most exciting innovation in banking right now?
Well, I think it's not in banking. I think it's in general. I think the AI and the generative AI. I think that's really exciting, and how we'll see how it will be getting used.
Love it. AI, generative, yes, perfect. Then, so for next year, what do you think that it will be this AI role in banking?
I think it will be still in the testing phase. Some of the elements be kind of be already released, but there is still going to be like a limited kind of a general approach, because people are still trying to understand how to make it used. But you will have more and more uses, like on the personal basis. I'm writing my marketing text, for example, and so on. So I think that next year it's still in the development phase. Probably 1 year after that, we will already see more defined strategies.
All right. So we're ready next year. Let's go and think in 5 years. Next year is 2025. 5 years is already 2030. So banking will be how in 2030?
Nowadays they say that you can only prognose the future coming forward like for half a year max. So it's very difficult to prognose how that will be. But I think that it will be very much digitally based. It will be going more and more towards the global solutions. So that's something what we will see. And yeah.
So we're right there in 2030, and I want you to think about what is the most important technology that banking or financial services will be using.
I would say it's cloud-based services, and then everything on top of that. Let's see where the AI develops and what are the new opportunities for going there.
What about blockchain? Do you see it happening somewhere? It's already happening in many ways, but
yes, blockchain is definitely a solution, but I don't. Is it going to be number one? I don't think. I think it's a very important. I think it's a very important solution from the point of view of how you can identify. So coming again, like kind of tracking the payments, tracking the money, and so on. So I think in that sense, it's going to be very important. But if I look at cloud or AI, I think they are going to be more dominant, with blockchain being somewhere there.
What about the key to securing your digital identity? What it will be by the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most challenging questions for us, right? So because like looking at also how AI is developing, it's easier and easier to kind of copy your face or whatever have you, and so I think that making sure that there are the digital identity is more secure and more kind of less there is less fraudsters around, that will be definitely the topic. I think what we see though is that as in any case, when you have certain amount of money pulled into the industries trying to avoid the process, that you have a certain amount of money is going in, and you see fraudster schemes going up or developing every year and year. So I think it's going to be a constant fight, and I think it's going to get more important.
Okay, so it's 2040 already.
Oh.
What do you believe? Yeah, imagine this already 2040. So what your customers should be expecting from banks?
Oh, this is too far to say. I think it's difficult to say. It's but I think that in general, I think it's the same. I think it's about having the balances of both sides. So your credit and debit side as a customer, so you kind of have a solution where you getting your money and you kind of can get a credit and do so on, and where you can invest your money. So that's, I think, that is typical banking still going to be. It's just a question of how many different other services are going to be linked there, and how is it that all going to develop. But in general, the typical banking is still going to be about managing your money.
So I'm going to challenge you. 2040 is very far away, but let's going to think a little bit further. 2050, and it's okay if we just dream about it. So what do you think that is going to be the biggest challenge for any financial institution in 2050, 25 years from now?
I think it's difficult to say right now what is going to be the biggest challenge in 2050. It's what 25 years now, and I think what we see in typical people are under expecting the changes or over expecting the changes that are going to come in the next few years, and then they're underestimating the changes that are going to come in the few further years. So it's difficult to foresee. I think that banks will also find a way to evolve, as any companies in the world have done over the time. I think that it will be more and more connected towards the solutions of the banks going to be more and more connected towards the traders, like anything you can do, and that the banking experience is going to be more and more seamless. I think there is going to be more and more integration of services like Visa and MasterCard and banks and the e-commerce and so on. So this is going to be all kind of mixed field in a sense. I think it's going to be much more kind of coming to closer together, and they're going to be competitors in all those different areas, and not just one, two, second or third, but like more mixed. That's just
these competitors. If we kind of like think about what are the competitors that are going to emerge from banking in 5 years, 10 years, and 25 years, from what industries do you believe that they're going to come from?
It's obviously going to be fintech industry as a key industry. There might be some of the industries coming in from tech area, because again, as many other industries, tech is going to be more and more prevalent in many other aspects of the world. So I think that sometimes probably we're going to need to rethink how our industries are defined. Yeah. So for example, who is Facebook nowadays, or who is Google nowadays? Yeah. So I think that's kind of I think that's what will also happen in at least in 25 years time. So because any industry will be based on tech.
Yeah.
So that's like you cannot anymore define tech or other industry. It's going to be more specifics.
All right. Well, listen, many friends that are watching us today, they are very young. We know that we have a very young audience. They're these promising individuals that I call that are aspiring probably to become the future leaders of the banking and fintech industry. So what advice would you give them to them beyond their skills? What experiences or mindsets they need to have in order to aspire to get a job like yours in the future?
I think, it's probably coming a bit more to us what I was mentioning, what also the regulators and also society is expecting from us. I think, and I think it's for any business, right? And also if you look at the younger generation, also on their thinking. So it's more about, what do you add as a human being and as a company to the world, right? So it's not so much about what is the benefit of this shareholder, what is the benefit of customer, but what do you bring to the society? I think that's what's going to be the key. And then finding and I think for any youngster, finding a position that helps you to, utilize your skills the best, what you like and love doing, and how you can contribute to the society.
Love your answer. Thank you, Kerli. Thank you so much for exercising that foresight with us. It's been a fascinating discussion on how technology and the human-centric approach can shape the future of banking. I'm sure our audience have gained a lot of valuable knowledge from this conversation. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Diana.
And for you, our Foresighters listening today, thank you for tuning in to the Tech Foresight podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more episodes where we're going to explore the future of technology and their impact on business and society. Until next time, stay curious, keep your minds open, your ideas flowing, and always stay foresighted. See you soon.